The air in the bridal suite smelled of expensive peonies and cheap desperation. My sister Elena stood in front of the full-length mirror, smoothing down the silk of a gown that didn't belong to her. It was my gown, the one I had spent 8 months saving for, the one with the hand-stitched Calais lace and the vintage pearl buttons. She didn't even look guilty. She looked triumphant, as if stealing her younger sister's wedding dress was just another trophy to add to her collection of lifelong thefts. "It fits me better anyway, Maya," she whispered, her eyes meeting mine through the glass. "You were always a bit too sturdy for something this delicate. Besides, Mom agrees. Since my fiancé's family is watching, I need to look the part of the successful sister." I'm Maya. I'm 26 years old, and for the last 3 years, I've worked as a forensic accountant, a job that requires a level of patience and attention to detail that my family has always mistaken for passivity. They see a girl who sits quietly in the corner of holiday dinners. They don't see the woman who tracks hidden offshore accounts for a living. To my parents and Elena, I am the reliable backup, the one who pays the bills when Elena's influencer career hits a dry spell. I stood there, dressed in a simple silk robe, watching my mother meticulously tuck a stray thread on the dress Elena had literally swiped from my garment bag that morning. Not once did my mother look at me. Not once did she ask how I felt about my wedding day being cannibalized to save Elena's image. I wonder, as you're listening to this, maybe while you're doing chores, folding laundry, or driving home after a long shift, have you ever felt completely invisible to the people who are supposed to love you most? Have you ever realized that your role in the family isn't to be loved, but to be used? I didn't scream. I didn't pull her hair or try to rip the lace. In my profession, we have a saying: the loudest person in the room is the one with the most to lose. Elena was loud. My mother was loud. I remained silent, because I knew something they didn't. Elena thought she had won because she was wearing the dress. She didn't realize that a dress is just fabric, and a wedding is just a performance, unless you're the one holding the script. I reached into my handbag and felt the cool, crisp corner of the manila envelope I'd tucked inside. "You're right, Mom," I said, my voice as steady as a heartbeat. "Elena looks exactly like she deserves to look. I'll just go find something else to wear. Don't worry about me." They smiled, relieved that the easy daughter wasn't going to make a scene. They thought they had backed me into a corner. They didn't realize they had just handed me the match to light under their carefully constructed house of cards. The heavy oak doors of the bridal suite clicked shut behind me, muffled by the sound of my mother's delighted laughter. They were already celebrating a victory that hadn't actually happened yet. I walked down the long, carpeted hallway of the estate, my heels clicking a steady rhythm, the same rhythm I use when I'm auditing a company's books and find the first red flag. In forensic accounting, you learn that people only steal when they think no one is looking, or when they believe the victim is too weak to speak up. Elena and my parents had spent 26 years betting on my weakness. They saw my silence as a blank check they could cash whenever they were short on ego or money. I didn't go to the spare dress my mother had shoved in the back of my closet, a frumpy, off-white polyester number from a clearance rack. Instead, I walked straight to my car. In the trunk, protected by a waterproof casing, sat the real dress. 2 months ago, I had caught Elena snooping through my digital sketches. I knew her patterns. I knew she couldn't stand for me to have something she didn't. So, I did what I do best. I created a diversion. I bought the lace gown, the one she was currently wearing, as bait. I left the receipts where she could find them. I talked about it incessantly. Meanwhile, I had been working secretly with a boutique designer to create a custom masterpiece, a minimalist, architectural silk crepe gown in a shade of white so pure it made the lace dress look yellow by comparison. As I slipped into the real gown, the fabric felt like armor. It was sleek, modern, and powerful. It didn't scream damsel. It whispered architect. But the dress was only the aesthetic part of the pivot. The real, hidden factor lay in that manila envelope. While Elena was busy playing dress-up, she had forgotten one crucial detail. I was the one who managed the family trust and the down payment for the house she and her fiancé, Marcus, were buying next week. Marcus was from a prominent family that valued integrity above all else. He was a good man, a little oblivious perhaps, but decent. He believed Elena was a self-made success story. He didn't know about the $40,000 she had borrowed from my personal savings over the last 2 years, or the fact that the business she claimed to run was nothing more than a series of high-interest credit cards I had been quietly paying off to keep our family name out of the mud. I checked my reflection one last time. I looked like a woman who knew exactly what she was worth. Elena wanted to be the center of attention? Fine. I was going to give her more attention than she ever dreamed of. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to my lead investigator back at the firm. Upload the ledger to the shared drive. Set the permissions to public in 60 minutes. The war wasn't about the lace. It was about the truth. And the truth was about to become very, very public. The grand ballroom was a sea of champagne silk and whispered expectations. Crystal chandeliers cast a cold, sharp light over the guests, most of whom were Marcus's high society relatives and colleagues from the firm. My parents were in their element, holding court near the open bar, basking in the reflected glow of what they thought was a seamless deception. I stood in the shadows of the mezzanine, watching them. Elena was down there, flitting from group to group in my stolen lace gown, playing the part of the radiant bride-to-be. She looked fragile, ethereal, the exact image of the perfect daughter they had always polished at my expense. Every time someone complimented the dress, she'd let out a practiced, modest laugh. "Oh, this? It's just a little something I picked out. I've always had a taste for the finer things." My mother caught her eye and winked. They thought they had buried me. They thought I was currently in a side room, sobbing into a polyester rag, too ashamed to show my face. I looked down at the manila envelope in my hand. It felt heavier now. Inside wasn't just a ledger. It was a paper trail of every loan Elena had taken from the family trust that I managed, and every forged signature she had used to bypass my authority. For years I had covered for her to keep the family peace. I had been the silent technician keeping the lights on while she danced on stage. But peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of justice. I saw Marcus standing by the altar, looking nervous. He was a man who built his reputation on transparency and ethics. He truly believed Elena was his partner in every sense. Financially, emotionally, professionally. He had no idea that the down payment for their new estate had actually come from a high-interest bridge loan Elena had taken out in his name, using my forged authorization as a guarantor. I checked my watch. 10 minutes until the ceremony. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was my father. He looked at my sleek architectural silk gown, and for a second, his eyes widened. The realization that I hadn't crumbled hit him like a physical blow. "Maya, where did you get that?" he hissed, his voice tight with panic. "You're going to upstage your sister. Go change. Now. Don't be difficult. Not today." "I'm not being difficult, Dad," I said, my voice as cool as the marble floors. "I'm being accurate, and you of all people should know that in an audit, the numbers never lie." Elena wanted a show. I'm just making sure the audience gets the full story. I walked past him before he could grab my arm. I didn't head for the back row. I headed straight for the front, where the officiant was waiting. As the music began to swell, the slow, haunting notes of a cello, the room went silent. The doors at the back opened. Elena began her walk, draped in my stolen lace, smiling at the cameras. She hadn't seen me yet. She didn't see the woman in the superior silk standing at the altar, holding the truth in a plain brown envelope. The music swelled, a triumphant orchestral arrangement that Elena had picked to signal her grand entrance. She glided down the aisle, the stolen lace trailing behind her like a captured flag. The guests turned, their faces filled with practiced admiration. But as she drew closer to the altar, her smile faltered. Her eyes locked onto mine, and the blood drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint right there on the white runner. I wasn't in the back row. I wasn't wearing the polyester rags she had left for me. I was standing next to the officiant, clad in architectural silk that caught every beam of light in the room, making her dress look like a dusty relic. Marcus looked confused, his gaze darting between his bride and the sister-in-law, who looked more like the star of the show. My parents were frozen in the front pew, my mother's hand over her mouth, her eyes darting around the room to see if anyone noticed the tension. As Elena reached the altar, the music faded into a heavy, expectant silence. The officiant began the opening remarks, but I didn't wait for the "speak now or forever hold your peace" moment. I stepped forward, the manila envelope in my hand. "Before we proceed," I said, my voice amplified by the lapel mic I had quietly clipped on minutes before. It was calm, steady, the voice of an auditor delivering a final report. "I have a wedding gift for the couple, something to ensure this marriage starts on a foundation of absolute truth." Elena hissed under her breath. "Maya, sit down, don't you dare." I ignored her. I turned to the guests, then to Marcus. "Many of you have commented on Elena's dress today. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's the dress I spent 8 months saving for. The one she took from my suite this morning because she felt she deserved it more. But as a forensic accountant, I've learned that when someone steals the wrapping, they're usually hiding a much bigger deficit inside." A gasp rippled through the room. I opened the envelope. "Marcus," I said, handing him the top sheet. "That's the ledger for the family trust. It shows the $40,000 Elena borrowed from my personal savings. And the second page? That's the bridge loan she took out in your name last month, using a forged version of my signature as a guarantor. She didn't buy that house, Marcus. She leveraged your credit to fund a lifestyle she couldn't afford." The silence was deafening. Marcus took the papers, his hands trembling as his eyes scanned the highlighted figures. He wasn't a fool. He knew exactly what he was looking at. He looked at Elena, really looked at her, and saw the panic behind the expensive makeup. "Is this true?" Marcus whispered, his voice cracking. Elena tried to laugh, a high, brittle sound. "She's lying. She's just jealous, Marcus. She's trying to ruin my day because I look better in the dress." "The dress she stole?" Marcus asked, his voice gaining a cold, hard edge. He looked at my parents. "Did you know about this? The money? The forgery?" My father looked at the floor. My mother looked at the ceiling. Their silence was the loudest confession in the room. I stepped back, tucking my hands into the hidden pockets of my silk gown. The reversal of fortune was complete. The golden daughter was standing in a stolen dress, exposed as a fraud in front of the very people she had spent years trying to impress. "The truth is out, Elena," I said softly. "The audit is closed." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the sharp rustle of the ledger pages in Marcus's trembling hands. He didn't scream. He didn't make a scene. He simply looked at Elena, really looked at her, and saw the stranger hiding behind the lace. Without a word, he handed the bouquet back to her, turned on his heel, and walked out of the ballroom. His family followed like a silent, judgmental tide, leaving my sister standing alone at the altar in a dress that no longer had a purpose. My mother rushed forward, not to comfort me, but to hiss in my ear. "How could you? You've ruined everything. Our reputation, your sister's future, over a dress." "It was never about the dress, Mom," I said, my voice calmer than it had ever been. "It was about the fact that you let her steal my life, piece by piece, and called it family. The audit is finished. And by the way, I've already resigned as the executor of the family trust. You and Elena can figure out how to pay back those bridge loans on your own." I walked out of that ballroom into the cool night air, the silk of my own gown whispering against the pavement. For the first time in 26 years, I didn't feel like the reliable backup. I felt light. I felt seen. Not by them, but by myself. Revenge isn't always a loud explosion. Sometimes it's just the quiet click of a door closing behind you as you walk away from people who only value you for what they can take. I drove away from that estate, leaving the chaos and the stolen lace behind, heading toward a life where my silence would no longer be mistaken for permission. What did you think of Maya's silent revenge? Have you ever had a family member try to take credit for your hard work, or even steal something as personal as a wedding dress? Let us know your stories in the comments below. We read every single one. If you enjoyed this story of vindication, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to set boundaries. Don't forget to subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab for more stories of calm drama and ultimate justice. Until next time, stay quiet, stay observant, and know your worth.